So where were we? We were doing head-215 on webpage.txt.
And then I forget, do I just type web page?
Yeah, just the file name.
Okay.
Okay, we got the first 215 lines, and our objective was to get the last 11 lines.
11.
Right, out of this 215. And we know how to get the last 11 lines from a file because we did that earlier with the same file. We get the last 215.
Out of webpage.txt.
Right. So one way would to get the last 11 lines out of these 215 would be to put them in a file. Now we're going to start learning about the magic of Unix or Linux or Mac redirection. And the first trick is the greater than sign, also known as the spit operator, because what we're going to do is spit the output of that head command into a file. Okay, so you're going to run the head command again. Hit up if you want to repeat the last command. There you go. But add the greater than and then a file name. All right, you put spaces on either side of it. That's good.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's right. Salty butthole. All right.
Well, I saw a thing of salt, but maybe not. Maybe after Loki.
Loki, your cat. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, try that. Ah, now we don't see anything to the screen. And here's why. By default, all these little Unixy commands like head and tail and a bunch of other ones, they send their results to a place called standard out. And that's spelled all caps STDOUT. Yes, standard out. That's what they call it. And standard out, by default, goes to your screen. But when you put that greater than sign in there, that tells the shell, which is like the program that we're interfacing with the terminal, bash shell in this case. That tells the shell, oh, okay, run that thing I just told you to do, but take its standard out and hook it up to this file. So the output of head doesn't even know that it just prints to standard out like normal, but we've hooked standard out to this file.
Loki.txt.
To Loki.txt. So now our stuff is going to be in Loki.txt. And we can verify that without leaving the command line using the cat program. And since Loki is a cat, it's very appropriate to cat Loki.txt. All cat does is read the file and print it to standard out. And in this case, standard out is doing its default thing of printing to the screen. So there it is. That is the contents of Loki.txt. Great. So we learned about the spit operator and redirecting to a file. Now that we have that file, you can run tail on it and get the last 11 lines.
Just like that?
What else do you have to type?
I know there's something else.
What happens if you just run that? Do you remember?
It doesn't run.
Hit enter and find out.
Do I have to put Loki.txt?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
There it is. Those are probably 11 lines. Great. Is that what we wanted?
Yes.
All right. What shall we do with it? Hello, Loki.
I figured he could come since this one was named after him. Okay, so we have the next 11 lines, and then I sort of forgot what we wanted them for.
Oh, right. Well, our goal eventually is to turn them into a better web page, to like parse them and pull out the information that we need to make a new web page with the same information on it.
Right.
So how about we put them in a file?
That's what I was going to say, save them to a file.
Perfect. Do you remember how to put them in a file?
Cat.
No, that cat reads a file.
That prints it to the screen. We just put it into a file. Oh, we need to do the greater than symbol, the spit, to spit it
Right,
into a file.
right.
So do I need to do, let's see, that's the tail 11 of Loki.txt.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I take just those and put those into a file? I know that I'll have to do that and then the file name, but what comes before it?
You just run that same command again. So you hit up.
Oh, and then I just do,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll name this one after my other cat.
That's confusing. Okay.
Okay, maybe not then. We'll name
How
this
about
one.
beginning.txt? Was it beginning.txt? No, that's not what it is either. It was
How
the
about
important...
how about 11 lines?
Okay. This is like the interesting bits. This is a really common thing for me to do with the command line, is run a command, see its output on standard out on the screen, and then when I want to save it, hit up to do the same thing again, but redirect it to a file.
Okay.
I do that kind of thing all the time. All right, so now that we've done that, I'm going to show you a trick of how to do that in fewer steps.
Okay. Is this where the pipe comes in?
Yes, the magical pipe operator.
I do love pipes.
All right, so we talked about standard out. There's one more magical descriptor. These are technically file descriptors, special ones, in these Unix commands, and that's standard in. Standard in is the default place that things like head and tail read their input. So if you do something like do tail -1 and hit enter.
Oops.
Ooh.
I meant to hit one. I don't know why.
Okay. You've opened. It thinks you're not done typing the command. You entered a backtick, and it's gonna sit there and wait for you to enter a closing backtick because it thinks you're trying to quote something.
Oh.
So
Okay.
enter another backtick.
And then hit enter?
No, you try it, but I think that's a regular tick. Yeah.
Oh, it is. What did I even hit?
The backtick is next to the 1.
Get out of my coffee.
You were trying to hit 1.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so there. And hit enter. Boop. Okay, and then I can...
so it's good. So now you've entered an invalid command, no bother. The important thing was you managed to stop entering it. Tail -1.
Oh, right.
Right. And hit enter. Now, when you gave it a file argument, it was like, oh okay, well, I never mind about standard in, I'll just read from this file. But you didn't give it a file argument. Its default is to read from standard in. And that's standard in is like the faucet that it's pulling its data out of, and then standard out is like the drain that it sends its output down. And in between is going to do its tail operation. But by default, standard in, that faucet is just whatever you're about to type. So like type 3 or 4 lines of garbage. This is really confusing because you want it to do something and it just sits there, and often I do this like kind of frequently. Like I'll like type something and I'll think it's being slow. Hit enter, type some more stuff, hit enter, type some more stuff. I'll think it's just being slow and I'm waiting for it to run, but it's actually sitting there waiting for me to type something because it's reading from standard in. Okay, and the way to end that is to push Control D. That says I'm done entering standard in. Now, do you see what tail did there?
Yeah, it doubled it, that last one.
It printed out the last line.
Oh, right, because once I said I was done by hitting Control D, it was like, okay, so now it knows what the last line is, and it reprinted it.
Yes.
Okay.
And it printed it to standard out by default, and standard out is just printing to your terminal, unless you do something else with it. So there it is. It printed bleep blorp doop dorp again. Perfect. All right, so now we know about standard in and standard out. The fun part, and possibly the most valuable concept in all of computing, I'm not exaggerating, is hooking two programs together. And this is the power of the pipe operator. The pipe operator is above the return key, on my keyboard anyway, is like the backslash key. And above the backslash, like shift backslash, is the pipe character. There it is, a bunch of pipes. And before we started this pairing thing, had you ever used that character?
Not even once.
Now we're going to use it a lot. but it's very powerful. All right, so the spit operator redirects standard out to a file. The pipe operator does two things. You put it in between two commands, and it takes the standard out of one of them and connects it up to the standard in of the next one. So they're like unified, they're like combined. What we can do is we can take our head command, which was head minus 215 web page, right? Yeah.
Right. And then you pipe it to the tail 11.
Yes. Yes. So when we pipe head to tail, we're hooking the standard out of head to the standard in of tail, and just do that by itself. So we don't have to give tail a file argument because it's reading from standard in, which happens to be the output of head, which does have a file argument. So head says, oh, look, you told me to read from web page. Okay, it takes the first 215 lines, puts them on standard out. Tail receives those 215 lines.
And then prints them.
Yeah, then tail is like, all right, we're done. Here's the last 11 lines, and we get it. And then you can take all of that and you can redirect it again to your output file. So hit up.
And then I just spit it into a file, right?
Yes. Whatever you called it before, or what did you call it? 11 lines. Okay. Yes. Very good. Now do ls minus l, and let's see what we have in this directory.
Okay, I know ls is list, and then what is minus l?
Long, I think. So it shows you more information. Right. So this is something that we need to do. So the columns here of all the information, you can see our file names over on the right. All the way to the left is the file permissions. We'll talk about those later. I don't know what the ones are. Rachel Daniel is you. It's the owner of the file, the user who owns the file. Staff is the group. So apparently you're a member of the staff group on this computer, your own computer or whatever. The date and time there, November 30th, 1236 for the README, that's the last modified date of the file. So you can tell when things changed. So we can see that today we've changed README, 11 lines, Loki. We have not changed webpage.txt since last Sunday. All right, but the point was there's Loki and it worked. And we learned about redirection. There's one more redirection operator, which is less than, which will read from a file to standard in. So if you did like head minus 215, and then before you type webpage.txt, you can do the less than, yeah, and then webpage.txt. Most of these little Unixy programs will take an optional file name argument for where to read. Some of them don't. They just always read from standard in. This operator, which some people call slurp, changes standard in to read from that file instead. So that's always going to work with a program that reads from standard in. So go try that real quick and make sure we got the first 215 lines again. So that's another way to get stuff out of a file that's a little more general than providing the file name as an argument, because it works for anything that reads from standard in. All right, so now we know the three kinds of redirection. And